Okay, now that we're done talking about our smoke detectors, which is a very important topic, I want to talk to us all about when we go to bed at night. How many of us, think back to when we were sleeping last night, how many of us, when we fall asleep at night, we sleep with our door open? Okay, there's a couple of you out there I can see, right? Remember, listen, this is very important, okay? I want you to pay really close attention. This is very important, okay? I want you to pay really close attention. When we fall asleep at night, we have to make sure that we close our door all the way, all right? And this is why. An emergency or a fire starts in our kitchen or in our living room, but we left our door open even just a tiny bit. What happens is that smoke is gonna fly real high to the ceiling, which is why our smoke detectors are up on the ceiling. And if that smoke flies all the way to the ceiling, it can travel fast and it's very quiet. We can't hear smoke at all, can we? So when we're sound asleep, we don't hear the smoke. And now that smoke is gonna see that our door is open, even just a tiny bit, it's gonna see that. And now the smoke is gonna sneak into our room and it's gonna fly right over to where we're sleeping and it's gonna look for our noses. And the smoke, it might see our nose and it's gonna sneak into our nose. You know why it sneaks into our nose? It sneaks into our nose because when we fall asleep at night, our noses turn off. They can't smell anything. So the smoke sneaks into our nose and now it makes us even more sleepy. There's a lot of ingredients inside of smoke that are very dangerous. And one of those ingredients actually makes us more sleepy. So when we're asleep and that smoke gets into our nose, it makes us sleepier and sleepier and sleepier. And now, if we're so sleepy that we can't smell anything and we can't hear anything, are we gonna hear that smoke detector when it goes off? We're not. And that's very dangerous because now if we can't wake up to exit the building, that's very scary. We could get very hurt inside that house, couldn't we? So what we have to do is we have to make sure that every night when we go to bed, we have to close our door all the way, okay? This door is gonna act like a shield and it's gonna protect us from any danger like smoke or fire. Now I know when we close the door, sometimes it gets very, very dark, doesn't it? And if you're like Firefighter Ian and you're afraid of the dark, we don't like to close the door, okay? Guess what? Firefighter Ian always used to sleep with his door open because I was afraid of the dark, okay? And so leaving that door open would let the light in from the hallway, wouldn't it? Yeah, and then we could sleep better. But guess what? When I went to Fire Prevention Week, I learned that this is very dangerous and I became very scared, okay? We want to make sure we always shut our doors, okay? So now from now on, I close my door because that smoke and that fire stays outside. And here's how, here's what happens. Let's say all of a sudden, since our door is closed, we hear our smoke detector go off. So we're gonna wake up, we're gonna get out of bed, and we're gonna crawl real low to the floor. And before we open the door, we wanna feel it with the back of our hand, just like this. Good. We're gonna feel real high and real low. And if the door is cool, can we open it? Yeah, we can. We're gonna crack open slowly. Good, and we're gonna peek out the door, and if we don't see anything, we're gonna crawl right out. Excellent.
But what if the door is hot?
Oh, that's a great question. What does happen if the door is hot? If we feel that door and we feel that it's hot, we don't wanna go out that door, do we? We are going to stay in our bedroom now, aren't we? Okay, so we're gonna take this little blanket because you might see a little smoke coming in the bottom of the door. So we're gonna take this blanket and we're gonna pack this blanket to the bottom of the door in that crack. And this is gonna keep all that smoke and fire outside of our door. Now, let's freeze it here. This door and this blanket are gonna keep us safe in our bedroom for a very, very long enough for firefighters to come and help us, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab another blanket off of our bed and we're going to crawl over to another exit. Think of another exit in your room. If we can't go out the bedroom door, where can we go?
The window!
Good, we could go out the window. So we're going to crawl over to the window and we're going to stay real low. Now, if we live on the first floor of our house, we could probably practice how to safely exit the window, just like this, okay? We're gonna crawl out real low, and we're gonna safely fall down to the ground. Very good. Now, you could do this for practice at home too with your parents, all right? So if you want to, you talk to your parents, and you can ask if you could safely practice this escape. I don't want you to try this at home unless you're with an adult, okay? Do you promise? Good. Now, if you live on the second floor, or third floor, or fourth floor, or even fifth floor of your house, we don't want you to jump out the window, do we? No, because you could become very injured. Right? So what you can do is you can carefully open your window, and now you're gonna take your blanket and you're gonna throw one end of your blanket out the window, just like that. Very good. And now when we come pulling up in the fire engine, guess what we're gonna see right away? We're gonna see that blanket blowing in the wind, right? Or we're gonna see that blanket hanging out the window just like this. And so now what we can do is we can get a ladder, and we can put the ladder up to the window, and we're gonna come up real fast and come rescue you because we know you're in danger. All right, is this pretty cool or what? This is fantastic. So now, when we go to bed at night, we need to make sure we always close our door. Can you do that for me? Excellent. Make sure it's always shut, and make sure you talk to mom or dad or your brothers or sisters and make sure they always close their doors too. And if you're afraid of the dark, like Firefighter Ian is, guess what? You can still put a little nightlight in your room, okay? That's what I do, and it makes me fall asleep better. But we have to make sure we always close that door. Okay, do you promise? Good. So what do we have to do when we come to the fire station? Well, we come to work every morning at 7 a.m. and then we go home at 7 a.m. the next morning. And when we come to work, we have to go through all of our equipment to make sure everything is working properly. We have to make sure all the lights work. We have to make sure all of our medicines are there and they're ready to go to help somebody in case they're sick or hurt. We have to check everything in the fire engine to make sure all of our tools are working, and we have the water that we need and our hoses are ready in case there's a fire emergency. And then after that, we have to do a lot of cleaning of the fire station, just like our chores at home, where we have to vacuum, we have to clean. We have to do lots of training where we practice in case there's a real emergency. So here you can see that we practice on this roof simulator, where we have to go on the roof, and sometimes when there's a lot of fire, we might have to make a hole in the roof to help let the heat and the gases all out of the house. So this is what this training exercise is all about. Here you can see where we do a lot of water training around here. We do a lot of ice training as well in case somebody falls through the ice. We also have to do a lot of ambulance training. So we'll go into the classroom and take lots of tests and do lots of practice work in there too. So there's lots of training. And finally take our lunch break. And then after lunch, we go back to more training. And then we have to go through our vehicles to make sure they're all ready to go with all of their tools. And then at dinner time, that's when we can kind of take our rest and we can be prepared in case there's any emergencies in the middle of the night. Can we have emergencies in the middle of the night? We can. We can have an emergency at 2 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. So that's why we live here and we call it a firehouse, because I live here for a whole day and a whole night. Now, I know you're probably wondering what happens when we get an emergency. So here's what happens. You'll hear right now is the alert that we get. When somebody calls 911, this is what happens in our fire station. You hear these tones, and then you have our lights that turn on. So we're on what's called a jump company. So we're all firefighters and we're all paramedics, which means we might go on the fire engine to go put out a fire, or we might go out on the ambulance to help somebody that got hurt. So we have to listen to the emergency call to see where we're going. Anytime we have to go out on the fire engine, whether it's for a car accident or smoke or a fire alarm or a real fire, we have to put on all of our fire gear. And this fire gear is very important because it keeps us nice and safe. It keeps us very protected. If we don't have any fire gear on, can we get close to any of these buildings? No, we can't. Because we could get very burned or we could get very hurt. And that's why it's really important that we make sure we don't ever, ever, ever play with fire. Okay, do you promise? Good. Fire is so dangerous that there are people that can get small burns and they might have to go to the hospital for a very long time. So if I don't have any fire gear on, I can't get close to fire because it's that dangerous. And I'm a real firefighter. Okay, if I don't have fire gear on and I know how fire works, I know it's really dangerous. So here's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you all of this gear that I have to put on. So the first thing that you saw us put on were these boots, which also have my pants. And you can see how fast I can put them on when they're already set up like this with the pants and the boots together. So we're going to put these on here. So now you can see I have my boots here to protect my feet and these pants, which are made out of a real special material to keep me safe, all right? There's really 3 different layers to help slow down the heat, all right? Is my fire gear fireproof? Guess what? My fire gear is not fireproof, all right? This is only gonna protect me long enough to help somebody out of their house really fast or to help save their things, okay? Just because I have firefighter gear on doesn't mean I'm fireproof and I can go live through fire, okay? This just keeps me safe to get close to it with a fire hose to help somebody out. Next thing I'm gonna put on is this thing. This is actually called a hood, all right? So I'm gonna put this on my head because now this is what can keep my head nice and safe so I don't lose any hair. And it keeps my ears protected, and it keeps my chin and my cheeks and my neck, okay? So let's zip this up. This is my air tank. Okay, when we talked about the smoke and the fire, right? We can't breathe in the smoke. The smoke will make us very sick. And it has lots of ingredients that'll make it so I can't even breathe. All right, so I have this backpack that I'm gonna put on. And this is an air tank that's full of air that gets smushed into this bottle. And that air is what's gonna help me breathe. All right, so watch this. I'm gonna put this on like a backpack. Now watch this. I can turn my backpack on and you're gonna hear a few things. This thing in my hand is gonna shiver a little bit. Okay, so let's turn this on. You'll hear a couple beeps too. Ready? And there are those beeps. Good. That's all just telling me that my backpack is ready to go, okay? So what this little red button does is it'll blow some air out of here to make sure that this works okay. Okay, you hear that? Good. Now, if you look in here, you see those lights? Good. Those lights actually tell me how much air is in my backpack. Do you think I can breathe forever when I'm in a fire out of my backpack? I can't, okay? When I'm working really hard and I'm spraying the fire hose and I'm crawling around in the smoke real low under the smoke, okay? We wanna crawl real low under the smoke. Okay, my heart starts to beat fast because I'm working hard and I'm carrying a lot of stuff. This backpack might only let me breathe for about 20 minutes. All right, that's not a long time at all, is it? So this tells me how much air I have in my backpack so I can keep track to make sure I can get back out of the house where I can breathe clean air again. All right, so that's what this is. I have this bag that has something else that's really cool. I have this, and this is a mask. You see this mask? Is this a scary Halloween mask? No, it's not a scary Halloween mask. Actually, this mask can protect me and it can save my life. All right, so I'm gonna put this on my face, and this is what's gonna keep the stuff out of my eyes. It'll keep the smoke away from me, and it keeps my clean air inside. Okay, so this mask actually protects me. How's that look? Does that look good? Excellent. Okay, now I have the mask on. I'm gonna pull that little hood back over my head. Remember this? Excellent. And now, so let's put this on. Now, this is where I plug my air into my mask, okay? You can still see that I'm not breathing. I'm breathing the regular air out here. So I'm gonna put this on, and you'll hear it when I breathe, okay? Okay, do you hear that? Excellent. So now, the last thing I have to put on, my glove. You can see, all of this that I put on, I am safe enough to go to a fire. This is just all of the stuff I have to put on to stay safe. Okay, now I want to show you something else that's really cool. Let's pretend Firefighter Ian was at a real emergency, and all of a sudden something happened to me. I got hurt, and I fell down, and I'm really injured now, and I can't move, all right? You're gonna hear my backpack start to make some noises. And so, on a fire emergency, it's very scary to get lost or away from your company or your crew, so you can hear it worried about me right now. And it gets louder and louder every time. So what that noise is that noise is so loud that it tells all the other firefighters that there's a firefighter who's hurt or lost. And so now they can hear that noise and they stop exactly what they're doing and they come over and they come help find me by listening to that noise, and then they can pull on my backpack and drag me out to safety. So I want to show you something else that's really neat about our firefighter gear. So on all of our helmets, we have our name tags. You see this? And so what I can do is I take these off. If we go to a fire, sometimes we go to fires in Sycamore, sometimes we go to fires in DeKalb or Genoa or Cortland or Malta, okay? We go to fires all over the place. And what we have to do is make sure we don't ever lose each other. So now what we do is we have 2 of these stickers in every one of our vehicles, okay? So this is saying Engine 2 Sycamore. Engine 2 Sycamore. Okay, there's a white one and there's a red one. So the white one goes to the fire chief. The fire chief is the one on the fire scene who is in control, and they're the ones that are making all the really important decisions, and they wear white helmets. The red one is for the lieutenant or the boss on the engine that I'm with, and our lieutenants wear red helmets. So this one stays in our engine. So now when we go to a fire, we give this to the fire chief and we keep this in our fire engine, and we can keep track of everybody the whole time. So we make sure we don't ever lose somebody when we're at Sycamore or at a different department fire. When we have a fire emergency, we want to have 2 or more ways to get out of our house. All right, so let's think of our house and how it's laid out. I want you to take your paper and your pencil, and I want you to draw a picture of your house. Take your time and draw it kind of like this. So I'm going to draw the outside of the house, and I'm going to show where my front door is. Let's see, I have a living room over here, and now I have our kitchens back here, and I have, oh, here's my parents' bedroom, and here's my bedroom, okay? Now, I also want to put in where my windows are in my house, okay? And I'll show you why. So we're going to draw windows, okay, and doors here. Good. Now, we want to pretend like there is an emergency in our house, all right? We're going to draw 1 arrow on how we would normally get out of our house. Normally, we would just go out our door and out the front door, right? Or maybe out the garage door. Now, let's say that the fire is blocking that route. We cannot go this way like we normally would. Where else could we go? Good, we could draw an arrow out this door and go out the back door if we had to. Or we could even go out our window if it's safe. So here is our exit plan. Now, another thing I want you to put on your exit plan is your family meeting place. So let's pretend we have a fire in our house. Our smoke detectors go off. We all want to meet at the exact same place. All right, so we want to use our mailbox if it's far enough away, our neighbor's mailbox, or a tree that's really far away from our house. So that way we all come out of the house and we meet at the same place. If we have a smoke detector that goes off and we all leave the building and one person goes to our neighbor's house and another person goes to the mailbox and another person goes to the grocery store, that could be very dangerous when we come pulling up in the fire engine, because the first thing we're gonna say is everybody out of the house? And if the person at the mailbox says, I don't know, I never saw my brother or my sister come out, guess what? That means we're gonna go into that house no matter what. And we're gonna do our best and search through that whole building to find your brother or your sister, even though they were already out and they're at the grocery store. All right, this could be really dangerous for us when we come to help rescue. So we want to have a common meeting place where our whole family can meet. So I want you to finish drawing this map with your meeting place, and then I want you to go stick this to your refrigerator, and at dinner, I want you to talk about this meeting place and this exit plan with your family. And they can even take another color and put where their exit route is. All right, this is a really important plan that we should all have in our house. If you go to a school or a store or a restaurant, somewhere in that building, you're gonna find an exit plan posted in case there's an emergency in that building. So we should have one at our own homes too.